What's up, my people? Before we start the show, make sure you like the video, comment on the commentary, and subscribe to the channel. Become a part of the GVG family, because without you, there's no us. And as always, we thank you, and all praises to the Most High. Now let's get into it.
What up, though? What up, everybody? It's your boy Hally back again. Gvg Podcast, Detroit representative to the day that I die. East side in the building. You know how we do. I love all of y'all. I hope you love me. What up, though? Man, you know this Gvg Podcast. We've been doing this for about 7-8 months now. And we just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We want to thank everybody for sharing, commenting, liking, subscribing, and all that stuff that y'all do to just keep us going, man. We love all of y'all. We thank you. And we give all praises to the Most High. Today, we're going to be talking about arguing, but saying the same thing. We're talking about men and women. Men and women always arguing, but saying the same thing. Ain't it crazy? Y'all know how I do. I get my points off the phone, and then I go on my rant and my rave, and I go off the fly. We talking about arguing, but saying the same thing. So why is it that men and women don't listen? That's a crazy question, a never-ending question, an open-ended question that you would talk to 1,000 people and you'd get 1,000 different answers. So we're going to start it off like this. The first topic is mirroring our partner. What that means is tit for tat. You can get petty, I can get petty. You want to play games, I can play games. You want to act funny, I can act funny. You want to cuss at me, I can cuss at you. You want to bleach my clothes, I can bust the windows out your car. You want to talk bad to my mama, I'ma talk bad to your daddy. It's a mirror. All you're doing is giving the person the same energy, meaning none of you will be the bigger person in this instance. Because you are mirroring your partner to basically say, whatever you do, anything you can do, I can do better. If you give me some bad energy, I'm going to, in return, give you bad energy. If you want to be mad at me, I'm going to be mad at you. You want to argue with me, I'm going to argue with you. So that point is something that hits home with a lot of people because we have egos, we have feelings to protect, we have certain things in our lives that we feel are sacred. And respect is a big factor. You disrespect me, I'm going to disrespect you. And I can't tell you how many countless relationships are based on this mirror image of, I'm just going to treat you the way you treat me. I will never be the bigger person. I will always go tit for tat. And in some cases, we try to get the jump. I'm going to cheat on you before you cheat on me. I'm going to lie to you before you lie to me. Now, this is a deep issue because we shouldn't spend so much time trying to mirror our partners as we should be trying to diffuse the situations. We should be trying to figure out and reflect and say, what can I do better? Now, if a person isn't responding to you trying to diffuse the situation or trying to do better, then maybe that's just something that they have inside of them. Maybe that's not the person you should be with, or maybe they just have to grow more. But what I'm saying is we should not get to a point where we just see red and we say, I'm not going to listen to you because you don't listen to me. This is a school sandbox playground syndrome where we haven't matured, we haven't grown up to understand that people are going to have disagreements, people are going to have emotions, and sometimes you're not going to always see eye to eye on things. So that's a big thing for me, arguing, saying the same thing. And why aren't you listening? Why aren't I listening? Because we're mirroring each other. We're looking at each other to say, I'm going tit for tat, and I don't care how far this goes. I don't care if we break up because of it. I don't care if become a baby daddy because of it. I don't care if I become a divorcee because of this. I'm going to draw my line in the sand, and this is where I stand. There's no negotiation. There's no compromise. There's no being the bigger person. So another thing would be going to hurtful places to win arguments. How many of us can say that we have went to hurtful places just to win arguments? So the argument starts out, maybe it's something small or it could be something big, but the argument starts out where both of you are at odds with each other. And then eventually you get to this place where now, in order to win the argument, I'm going to hit you in a place where it hurts the most. People have been victims of this, and people have been the ones who have done this to others. Come on, people, don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. All of you know what I'm talking about. I've been there. I've done these things, and it's happened to me before. I'm pretty sure it's happened to you before, and you've done it before. Come on now. We all grown. Don't go hiding. Don't go changing the channel because I'm convicting you. Understand that we all go to these hurtful places to win arguments with our significant other. We start calling out what they don't do. We start calling out how short they are. We start calling out their shortcomings in the bedroom. We start calling out their shortcomings when it comes to money, when it comes to, all of these different things. We know how to push each other's buttons. We push those buttons just to win arguments. We push those buttons just to throw a person off of their mark. We push those buttons just to take a person in a place where they're small, where they feel small. And we mess with their spirit and their mind. Going to hurtful places to win arguments. Another thing would be resetting and autopilot. We're talking about arguing but saying the same thing. Resetting and autopilot. Sometimes we don't know how to help our significant other reset. So that means if you have a long work week, you work 40 hours this week, and you're coming home on Friday, and all I'm doing is basically doing what I do. I don't think about your work week. I don't think about your stress. I don't think about all the things that you had to go through just to get to Friday. So what I do is I don't worry about you and the trauma, the drama, whatever you had to deal with for you. So what happens is that just builds up and it builds up and it builds up. The difference is if your partner comes home or your wife or your husband comes home from that long work week and you say, I'm going to run you some bubble bath water. I'm going to buy you some flowers. I'm going to do a grand gesture. I'm going to turn on your favorite song when you walk through the door. I'm going to find some movies. I'm going to plan an event. I'm going to do something to help you to reset, to take your mind off of those 40 hours. So when you have to go back on Monday, you have a regenerative spirit to be able to take those 5 days. It's called a reset, people. A lot of people in relationships do not go the extra mile to help their person reset. This is a key point. This is a big thing. Understanding how to make yourself, understanding how to put yourself on the back burner to make the other person be able to reset and have strength and have power within their work week. And hopefully they are doing it vice versa for you so that you both can go into your work weeks and into your lives and all of the stress and the pain and whatever you deal with a reset, with a resetting. Meaning if I'm on 100, you reset me back to 0. If I'm on 97, you reset me back to 0. Or we can look at it in the sense of charging a phone. Your reset, you are being the charger for the phone in that instance. When that phone is getting down to 15%, it lets you know that battery low. When it get down to 8%, the screen gets dark. When it gets down to 5%, it's letting you know that if you do one more thing on this phone, it's cutting off. What do? You put that charger on there. You have to learn how to be the charger for your significant other, to reset them, to recharge them so that they can go back out in the world and be the best them that they can be. I hope y'all hear me on today, people. This is real talk. Resetting. Now we're going to go into the sense of autopilot. These are for the people who have been married or who have been in relationships for 10 plus years, 5 plus years, 15, 20 plus years. Autopilot can kill a relationship. All autopilot is if you've ever seen the movie Click with Adam Sandler, where he had the remote and he just put his life on autopilot. So it's almost as if you're there, but you're not there. You're going through the motions, but you're not there. Autopilot would be a person who goes to work, comes home, eats their dinner, watches a football game, lays next to their significant other and goes to sleep, and they just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. There is no spark. There is no sense of emotion. There is no sense of life. Autopilot can kill relationships. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you understand and probably have been in these situations with your man or with your woman, that they get to a point of being on autopilot and there is no spark. There is no gas in the car. There is nothing changing. There is nothing moving. There is nothing that is exciting. There is nothing that puts you in a position where you want to be motivated. These are things that happen on a daily basis with people who have been in those long relationships. And you get to a point where you grow apart and you don't really know how to bring it back to square one because you've been on autopilot so long that now you don't know how to bring it back to being in that great relationship. So that's just one example of resetting an autopilot. Arguing but saying the same thing. The next thing would be the war of spirits. So this is kind of a deep thing because spirits recognize familiarity. Meaning if you come around someone who does the same things that you do, you will have a kinship with them. You will have a comfortableness with them that you won't have with spirits who you don't recognize. So this would be someone who always does wrong being around someone who always does right. Those spirits are going to clash all the time because it's going to be a war. They are not at peace. See, spirits who recognize each other, they are at peace. If you have the spirit of being a liar and you're around someone else who lies, you have a bond to where you recognize each other and there's a comfortableness there. There's a comfortability there where you can say, I recognize that spirit. But if you are a person who lies all the time and you are around someone who tells the truth all the time, there will be a war. Because the one who tells the truth will always look at you as a liar, and the one who lies will always say, well, you can't get on my level because you always want to tell the truth. There is a war of spirits. So when you're talking about relationships, a lot of us grow. A lot of us get to a point of growth where we change our ways, and some of the people that are around us, they have not changed their ways. So when they see you, they don't recognize you. They say, I like when you used to smoke. I like when you used to drink all the time. I like when you was hustling on the block. I like when you just did what you did and you didn't necessarily look at me. because those spirits were able to hide within each other. They were codependent, so they had peace. So now when that spirit comes around, it's at war with you because you have changed, and now that spirit isn't familiar to them anymore. So now they're looking at you and saying, I wish that you were the way that you used to be because it was familiar to me. It was comfortable to me. And in relationships with men and women, if a woman changes for the better, or if a man changes for the better, and their significant other is still stuck in that past, there is a growth that happens to where those two people start to grow apart. And the evil spirit will do everything in its power to try to down that good spirit to bring it back to where it was. And the good spirit is going to do everything in its power to try to bring the evil spirit to where it is. So you have a tug of war. You have a constant tug of war of spirits. This is why people can argue and say the same thing, but they won't listen or hear each other because there is a war going on inside of them that they don't see because they are in the flesh, not understanding that this war is in the spirit. And no one is willing to cave. No one is willing to give in. Everyone is saying, I'm going to be selfish in this moment, and it's going to be what I want and not what you want. The spirit of growth, showing growth, is going to say, I'm at least going to hear you out. I'm going to compromise. I'm going to understand your point of view and try. Sometimes you do have to meet in the middle, but these are the things that people go through in relationships, with love, with children, with husbands and wives, with work, with whatever it is. There are things that are always going to be tugging at you, and there's always going to be this war of spirits between people, because if you don't recognize that spirit as a friend, you automatically are going to look at that spirit as an enemy. And then that spirit will use you to act out what it is thinking, to act out what it is believing. Another thing is triggers. Some people don't understand that sometimes you trigger people and sometimes you are triggered. People will say the person that triggers people should be more aware of what they do. Some people will say the person that gets triggered should be more aware of what triggers them. I don't know which is wrong. I don't know which is right. I think both of them should try. When you are triggered by things, it is easy for you to say, I'm done. All I see is red. You triggered me. You said something I don't like. You did something I don't like. So I'm done. It's easy for the person who triggers you to say, I'm not paying attention to anything you talking about because now you're triggered. Once you become triggered, I know how you act. But to meet in the middle, to understand, to say, I apologize for triggering you, or I apologize for being triggered, knowing that I've dealt with you countless times and that you trigger me sometimes, and I always go to this place. So in relationships, there are buttons that we can push. There are things that we can say, and we know what they are, where we push our significant other to the edge, or we push our children or our parents or whoever it is to the edge. And we know that there's no coming back. We know that they won't be able to speak to us in a normal tone. We know that they won't be able to give us the good energy that they would normally give us, because we have now entered into the red zone, the dimension of where they won't be able to think right. And this happens every day. So this is one of the big keys of why we don't listen, because once we get triggered, or once we trigger a person, we believe that we are right in that moment based on what we do next. If you trigger a person and they say, well, I slapped you because you triggered me, they are going to believe that they are right. If you say, man, I don't know what's going on with you. Yes, I said something that triggered you, but you should be able to understand that you're a human being, or you're grown, or you're growth, you have growth, or you're this or you're that. You should be able to take these triggers and have exercises where you learn how to deal with triggers in this life. This is just something that happens in this world that we have to deal with. Who's wrong, who's right? I'll leave that up to you. Another thing we talk about is gender roles. Man, oh man, this is a big thing right now. So, one big thing is parenting. Are there gender roles within parenting? Me personally, you can disagree, but I believe that there are gender roles when it comes to parenting. I'm not saying you can't have two dads. I'm not saying you can't have two moms. The Most High God gave us free will. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's not my home. I can't tell you what to do. But you also can't tell me that I have to accept it. I can accept it as you do what you do, but I will not accept it in my heart. So when it comes to parenting, kids, children, they need a father and they need a mother. They need a father figure. They need a mother figure. If you're a daughter, you need a father to teach you worth. You need a mother to teach you how to be a woman. If you're a man or a son, you need a woman to give you emotional stability and competence. And you need a man to teach you how to be a man. You can say that those aren't gender roles. You can say that two men can do that. You can say that two women can do that. But I will break it down like this. Have you ever tasted Lori's seasoning salt, or that good salt, sea salt, or whatever it is, and then you try to replace it with Mrs. Dash, and it doesn't necessarily have that same flavor that you get from Lori's or from the salt, because the salt is the father and the mother. The origin, the original. Mrs. Dash is the imitation. Not saying that the imitation is not salt, but it doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't have the same taste. So understand that on today, people, that when it comes to parenting, you need a man, a father figure. You need a woman, a mother figure. Two fathers, two mothers. They can be Mrs. Dash, but they will never be Lori's seasoning salt. They can be Mrs. Dash, but they will never be salt. They will just be an imitation. And this is no disrespect to anyone, because we all try, we all have problems, and I commend you for being a human being and going through what you're going through and doing the things that you do. But understand my point on today. Back to gender roles. Differences. Are you trying to be the same? Some people despise gender roles because most of them are trying to be the same. Most of us are fighting with each other because we are in a position of trying to be the same. The woman is trying to do what the man does. The man is trying to do what the woman does. And it creates this rift between each other, because the man is supposed to do certain things and the woman is supposed to do certain things. I'm not saying that they're not interchangeable. What I'm saying is, when you are a woman, and people can disagree, arguing is a masculine trait. Fighting is a masculine trait. Crying is a feminine trait. Not going to work every day and taking care of your family, to me, is a feminine trait. And I'm not saying that to disrespect feminism. What I'm saying is, as a man, you are supposed to go out and work your fingers to the bone, however you do, and take care of your family. I'm not saying that a man can't be a stay-at-home dad. I'm not saying that a man can't cook or clean. Don't get me wrong in this situation. What I'm saying is, you have to, within your household, come up with an agreement where that is the gender role. If a woman is taking out the garbage and you're cooking the food, make sure that that is the agreement. But understand that when you are trying to have the same role as each other, it is always going to cause conflict. The other thing, knowing your limitations. As a man, you have limitations on certain things, and as a woman, you have certain limitations on certain things. There are certain things that a man can do better than a woman, and there are certain things that a woman can do better than a man. It is not a knock at your ego. It is not a knock at your feminism. What it is saying is that the Most High God created us with limitations based on our sex, based on our gender. There are certain things that a man is not going to be able to do or be able to comprehend because we are wired different. And there are some things that a woman is not going to be. It's vice versa because they are wired different. Understand that there are certain things that a man is going to be able to do that you are not. Just like there's going to be things that you are going to be able to do that he is not. Just understand that as people, we have limitations. And that brings me to my next point is completion through connection. We complete each other through the connection of each other having limitations. Where I am weak in, you are strong. Where you are weak in, I am strong. We have to understand that we complete each other. We are puzzle pieces, meaning that there are certain things that we do as a whole together that creates the completion through the connection of us being together. I am weak in certain areas. Sometimes I can't multitask that good. My girl is great at multitasking. There are some things that she's not good at that I am. And together, those pieces fit to create the perfect puzzle. Understand that on today, that your significant other should be an extension of you to be able to complete you. And I'm not saying that we complete each other. I'm not talking in that fairy tale sense. I'm talking about you as two people come together. One person is better at driving. One person is better at administration. One person is better at dealing with the plumber, dealing with the people that fix the furnace. One person is better with dealing with the teachers and the principal. One person is better at remembering appointments. These are things that we come together and say that, hey, I forget everything, but you remember everything. Yeah, you hate going to get the oil change, but I'll go do that. These are just things that we complete through connection of being with each other and being each other's puzzle piece. So there are unpopular opinions that would unite our communities if they were more widely embraced. So a big thing today is it taking a village to raise a child. You remember the days with the aunties, the uncles, the cousins, the brothers, the sisters, the grandma, the granddaddy, the whole family being over that one child and everyone having that community. You know, we used to live on the same block or around the corner. And if if your auntie caught you or your mother's best friend caught you, they would grab you by the collar and make you pay $1, and you would have to go to the house, and then they would whoop you down the street, and then you get home and they would whoop you. Some people will say that that's wrong. I'm just saying that the village, it would show love, and it would show the lamb and the lion. It would cut you, and it would have the Band-Aid and the peroxide. So the village has moved from families to social media. So social media has become the new village, meaning social media is now the auntie, the uncle, the brother, the sister, the cousin, the grandma, the granddaddy. Now social media is the one that is training your child up to be whatever they're going to be. Some people would disagree. Some people will say it's the parents' fault. I understand. I'm not mad at you for saying that. I'm just telling you that the community has went from physical family to social media family. And something that would unite the community, if more widely embraced, would be us going back to physical family and not us using social media as a conduit for our own feelings and our spirit. I remember when I was in 3rd grade and my teacher called my mom and she came up to that school and wore me out in that bathroom. And I came back home. I came back in that classroom with the and I acted right. So I'm not saying that we need that necessarily that discipline, but what I'm saying is uniting these communities is different because now when that teacher calls, the parent is up at the school ready to fight the teacher. It's not the parent isn't thinking about what their child could have done. They are thinking, you better not touch my child. You better not take the phone from my child. I bought that phone. You better not make my child stay for detention. You better not suspend my child. Because they weren't wrong. They were right. If somebody say something to them, they should be able to punch them. If somebody do this to them, they should be able to do that. Now there's no accountability as when we were younger. We had more accountability from those physical families. Social media is telling you that everyone else should be held accountable. So now we live in this time where the village is not physical. We've moved from the time of landline to Wi-Fi. It's in the air now. We're going to go on to the next point. Acceptance of age and maturity. The time, especially what I just talked about, social media, people don't want to accept that they are getting older, and a lot of us are not maturing in our age. A lot of us want to be young forever. A lot of us are in a time where we're just like, psh, I'm competing with my granddaughter. I want to look as good as her. I'm twerking like my granddaughter. You got the 60-year-old men wearing skinny jeans, jangling their keys in their pocket, trying to pick up on some young thing. You're supposed to be at the age of maturity. That should be a child to you. That's like your granddaughter or your grandson. You should be getting and I'm not going to say should, because people going to come for me and say you can do whatever you want. But I am going to say should, because I don't care. There's a lot of people lined up ready to run me over. Just make sure you got your gas. This is how it go. Understanding that you are a wisdom factor. Understanding that you are the salt of the earth. You are what drives our culture. And when you start to lose your mind, it gives younger people a pass to lose their minds, because you're supposed to be the ones telling them that's promiscuous. That's what a thug is. You shouldn't be out here selling drugs. You shouldn't be out here shooting at people. You shouldn't be out here scamming. You shouldn't be only thinking about a scat pack. You shouldn't be only thinking about becoming famous and a singer and all these other things that people are doing. And I'm not saying you can't be famous or a singer. What I'm saying is the wisdom behind it. When we grew up, we had people who were giving us wisdom. Now the parents and the grandparents, it's the Benjamin Button effect. They are getting younger as they are getting older. And they want to be in the same spaces as the young people. That's a crazy thing. You have 57-year-old, 67-year-old women who are trying to dress like the 20-year-old and dancing like the 20-year-old and talking to their husband like a 20-year-old. And you have these men out here who, oh my God, they just live off of these blue pills. Bruh, go sit down. Grandma, great-great-grandma, please go sit down. Please teach these kids something other than twerking it and dropping it like it's hot and trying to get with the young thing. Use your wisdom. Grow into your wisdom. We need your age and we need your maturity to be able to be the king and queen of our families. We need you to be the authority of our families. Which brings me to my next point. All authority isn't bad. We are rich in attitude and poor in pockets. All authority isn't bad. We are rich in attitude and poor in our pockets. We live in a time where 99% of cops, I'm not going to call them bad. It's the 1% that's bad. But what we do is we act as if the 1% are the 99%. What we do is we get mad at our parents for trying to be an authority to us. What we do is we get mad at teachers. We get mad at the elderly people. We get mad at all of these people who are trying to be the authority for us. Understand that in this life, you have to have authority. And the new generation and the new time, the new era, we are in a position where we feel that we don't need authority. We are our own authority. The police are terrible. Our parents are terrible. Our mom is terrible. Our dad is terrible. Our big brother and big sister, they are terrible for trying to be an authoritative figure over me. I would rather people tell me, I would rather my authority figures to be people who agree with what I agree with. So Kim Kardashian, Nick Cannon, and Dave Chappelle, and Blueface, and all of these people can be the authority for them because they agree. They're not in the home. They can't discipline you. But the people that are in the home are dealing with rebelliousness at a height that we've never seen before. It's partly our fault, but it's also partly their fault too, because as a parent, you lay down rules, but as a child, they also choose if they're going to listen or not. So what I want to tell you is when you deal with authority, we have a lot of people out here nowadays who believe that authority is bad because we have a self-perception of perfection. You can't tell someone that your one sock orange and your one sock blue, that's mismatch. They're going to say, you hating, bro. You hating, bro. I'm depressed. Leave me alone. We live in that time where everyone wants agreement. No one wants accountability. Authority begets accountability. Someone telling you about yourself, someone letting you know that you wasn't right in this moment. It drives people insane now. We are living in a time of everything is accommodated to your feelings. We live in a time where everyone wants reassurance. We live in a time of dopamine. We live in a time where people are just in a space where if you don't agree with me, I don't want you to exist in my world. I don't want you to exist in my realm. And when you look at relationships and with children, with parents, with a man and a woman, with whoever it is, women don't want a man to be an authority over their lives. And I'm not talking about all women, but there's a percentage of women who say, you're oppressing me. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what I can wear. Don't tell me when to come in the house. Don't tell me how to talk around your parents. Don't tell me anything. If I want to have no filter, I'm going to have no filter. You are not my God. Not understanding that this is just authority. A lot of us do not want authority. It says honor your mother and father. A lot of us don't want to listen to our parents. We look at them and we say, man, get out my face. You old, you this, you that. The times have changed. You don't know nothing. You don't understand me. You don't love me. You're not in my corner. You this, you that. Not realizing that you're just mad because the parent is the authority and you don't want them to be. I'm not saying that they're perfect. I'm not saying that they don't fall. I'm not saying that they didn't drop the ball in some areas. But what you don't understand is you don't want them to be the authority over your life. You don't want them to tell you when to go to bed. You don't want them to tell you to go to school. You don't want them to tell you that you can't stay out late. You don't want them to tell you that you can't smoke, you can't drink, you can't have sex, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't be with a boy that's grown. They don't want to hear that. All they want to hear is you telling them, it's okay, baby. I know you did something wrong, but it's okay, baby. We've been arguing for this whole time, but we've been saying the same thing. Men and women in relationships, children and adults in relationships. Understand that this is your boy Hally. We've been doing a big rundown. I like this one. This is a good Gvg podcast. We just talking about real issues in the world. We trying to help people to get past their issues so that they can get to some sort of healing in their lives. You can agree, you can disagree. I'm still going to love you because the Most High said love your people, even your enemies. So at the end of the day, I love all of y'all, and I hope that you love me. It's your boy Hally. It's Gvg Podcast. Until next time, we dropping episodes every Thursday. We love all of y'all. It's that Detroit representative, east side till the day that I die, and we out.
Thank you for being a part of this experience. GVG appreciates every single one of you. I hope you came away from this video with a little more perspective, patience, understanding, and purpose. So until next time, we on Christ time.